Okay. So we're focusing today on the feature of the automations that are possible within the system. Automations are available for you on all of the plans. However, the AMS now has some new features that impact the automations. So first thing what I'm going to do is go into settings, and let's just briefly cover record types. This is something that we discussed the other day, but you'll see as I'm going through the automations that you can now market more specifically to, let's say, agent recruit. Or if you have an archive, you can exclude people who are deceased from workflows. So that's an important aspect to the automations I'm going to show you. And you can add in those custom record types. So you could add a new record type for, let's say, group policies. Group, that's not a good example. I'm trying to think of something that I haven't already put in there, but let's say archive, and then sort order 10, and then I would not show it in the temperature counts. I would probably use custom columns, and then just change that to, let's say, county for the sake of argument, and then you would hit create. I'm going to cancel that though right now, but that way you can have these separate record types. I'm going to go into settings and we'll start looking at the actual automations. Most of you are familiar with automated workflows, so I'm not going to go into too much depth, but I do want to show you some of the newer features and how to use them. So a good new one is if you wanted to do the agent recruitment, you could have an agent new recruit. We'll stop it if it no longer matches criteria for agent recruits with the status of new recruit. Pretend that is the actual status that I just chose. Save that workflow. And now you can start adding those marketing messages in for sending an email, sending a text message, adding or removing a tag, reassigning an agent, adding a note, a record status change, adding or removing from a call queue. A couple of new things we have. You can convert the record to a different type. So let's say you have a status of deceased. You could move all of the leads and employees and client relationships and others and agent recruits into the archive type. So after 1 minute, you would convert that to the archive type, for example. The thing to note though, client records will not be converted. So be aware of that. This is for the purpose of the commission calculation because it's a different kind of feature set within the client record type. But everything else can be converted through the automation. We also have a mail postcard option now. This is for Direct Mail Manager, and they are third party. But we had a bunch of clients using them and they'd been asking for this automation for a while and we were finally able to get it done. So you can now, if you use Direct Mail Manager, you can now automatically send a postcard. So you just select the birthday one, for example, and send that out. You do need to make note though, postcard templates are only going to be sent once. So let's say that you've got somebody's birthday campaign. Let me build out a birthday campaign now that I've showed you this. Workflow home, add a workflow for birthday for all of the record types except for the archive. So that way I don't send to people who are deceased and clients. So now I'm going to do this on the day 7 days before their birthday. So you can see on, after, before, last updated, birthday 26th, 65th, effective, and renewal date are the date triggers. Birthday, save workflow. Now I'm going to scroll down here and add an action of mail that postcard minute 1. So that way it gets generated and sent out by Direct Mail Manager. And we've got a week's notice. And I send out that birthday card. But next year, I'm going to have to create a new template. So that way when they match the criteria next year, a new postcard template is sent. So it would probably benefit anybody using Direct Mail Manager to put a little note into their calendar every January 1st or whatever to create a new birthday template for the year and then update this section here with the new birthday template. So 2023 versus 2024. So those are some of the newer features within this automation here. Another workflow that you could potentially create using these workflows. So with that concept of the record type of client relationships, you could have spouse turning 65. So the client relationship is the record type. And then let's pretend we have a status of spouse as a client. And then on the day, 180 days before turning 65. Then save that workflow. And now I can add an action to send them an email, maybe send them a text if I've got that opt-in, add them into the call queue, mail them that postcard, whatever it is. But you can make this campaign specific, because especially when it's somebody like a spouse and it's with Medicare, there's a potential for that household discount. So you could write to them saying, hi, I'm the agent of your spouse. I wanted to make you aware that there might be a household discount if you guys are on the same plan in the same household. I'm happy to discuss your Medicare options with you, blah, blah, blah. It's a much better touch point than just treating them as if they're a general lead. Although once you've marketed them a few times specifically, then you can move them into the lead pool by using that convert record to different type. So moving them from a client relationship into a lead, for example. Mary Beth, I believe, asked about the mail party. The Direct Mail Manager is, I'm putting that link into the chat. So you would just sign up for their service and then you'll connect it in the settings of Radius.
Thank you.
Sure. So that was another example. So like spouse is turning 65. Another example might be a client workflow, client relationship workflow for the children of clients. So you might have, if you sell health insurance and you want to do based off of before the child turns 26. Or maybe you want to do it as a life insurance agent, maybe like 700 days after turning 26, because at that point, people are starting at least to think about having families, and they might not realize how important it is if they're having babies to get life insurance. So, you know, a little bit of marketing ability around those dates that are not just specific to those exact birthdays, right? Or a final expense campaign for people who are a certain age range. You can do that way as well. Any questions on the automations? It's fairly straightforward since you guys have seen this probably a billion times, and it is my favorite feature of Radius, other than voicemail drop. I've got to be honest, voicemail drop's my favorite, but automations are a very close second. I love them.
So I love this. Of course, you know it so well, so you went so fast. I was trying to follow you, and I realized I couldn't keep up. But I did understand.
Okay.
I was wondering that when you went and created that group, I know you made an archive group.
Mm-hmm.
Could we in fact do that with say like I work with teachers a lot, that's separate from my regular business? Could I create something for them to keep them separate from regular leads and clients?
Absolutely. So I mentioned, though, I'm not sure if you were on yet, that I think you were, that clients is always going to be its own little world. You can't create additional client records. So it would only be teacher leads. The teachers would
Okay,
have to be like clients themselves.
got it. Okay, so once they're, so everything is before their clients, once their clients are clients.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
that makes sense. Now,
So, yeah.
I always had a question, this might be a little off, but we go back to clients also to get more business.
Mhm.
So when they're a client again, um, or when we're doing automations, we have to separate it out to make sure we identify clients. Like say if we're sending out, hey, do you have I want to do a workflow for everybody that doesn't have life insurance with me or something like that.
Got it. Okay. So one thing you could potentially do, automated workflows, add a workflow. I don't know if I have this tag in here. Let me see if I do. No, I don't. Okay. So what I would recommend for that specific case, you go to settings, you go to account tags, and you create upsell tags. Etc. Right?
Oh,
Then you create the workflow. Add a workflow for upsell to life. And then you're going to say tagged with upsell to life. And then you'll have that whole list of actions that you want to send out for that. And then you'll go into your clients. And as you work with them, or you could do a report, and then you could just select all and bulk update them to upsell to life to trigger that campaign. But then as you speak with people, you might want to trigger that campaign on a regular basis by just clicking in their file. So if I was talking to Sarah and she was like, oh yeah, I'm just really interested in this for now, and be like, well, I'll send you some life information in general as well. So you would just click that, and now she's part of that workflow as well. So I like to do that, the upsells based off of the tags. And yeah, that's the best way to do those kinds of workflows.
okay. So how would you eliminate people that already had life? Um,
Um, you would need to pull a report, and then you could potentially just like add the tag in there, or you need to identify them. Like there's not a way to say, you can't pull by like the product coverage type of life, or like everything except for the coverage type of life. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So you can pull the people who do have life insurance, and then
then untag them with the upsell for life.
yeah, you could untag them, I guess, after the fact, because you can do a select all bulk update and then remove the tag. But yeah. But you always want to build the workflow first, because workflows are not retroactive. So if I had tagged all those people and then I built the workflow, nobody would get a message except for anybody new that I tagged.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait, could you repeat what you just said?
The workflows are not retroactive. And so if you tag everybody with upsell to life before building the workflow, nobody will get it. So they're just, it's not retroactive. So that way you don't accidentally, like, say you had like a bunch of new leads in the system, but you'd actually been working them. And then you create a workflow for new lead. And now all of these leads are getting messages when you've really actually quoted them. You just like hadn't gotten to updating their status yet, for example.
So add the tags first.
Yeah. So you would create the workflow first, and then you would update the record to match the trigger of the criteria. So the trigger is what you create first. So let me go back into automated.
Okay.
So you're creating the trigger of the workflow. So now anytime that somebody matches this criteria, so let's say this is for a new lead, and the record type is new lead, or lead, and then with the status of new lead. Going forward, anytime that somebody matches this criteria, they will get the following actions, because this is the trigger here. The only variable is the date triggered marketing, because that is evaluated once per day. So if this would apply, this would be retroactive kind of, because the date triggered automation is based off of the actual date rather than the client's status or the client's whatever. So this part will be retroactive, but it won't obviously like backdate birthdays. Like, so it won't be like, oh, you turned 65 3 days ago, and now we're going to send you a campaign for turning 65 180 days before your 65th birthday. So it won't backdate anything, but it will do that evaluation every single day. It is a little complicated. Can I explain that any
Makes
better?
sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay.
So I could trigger a workflow in the future. I would just have to trigger it after I made changes. Again, that's all, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So let's say that I build out this workflow with all of my actions, and then I was like, oh, you know what? This person really does need to get that information. I can just update them directly and put them to a new lead, and now they'll get that workflow information. So if I go down here now, we see all those pending workflow actions. Because I just updated their status. Any other questions on the workflows? I saw a question from Mary Beth about voicemail drop. I'll get to that at the very end if I've got time. I just
You would want to do that with a client, right? So
Mhm.
if we needed to do something new for an existing client, we don't want to change them back to lead. We want to create a tag like we did with the upsell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but even with clients, like you'll have that effective date and renewal date information. So if you like have an automation for a client record for 90 days prior to their renewal date. So for client, so I mean, because that is, so this would be for like an active status, active client status on a product status that's active or in force. And you do need to select the product coverage type. So you will need to do this per each coverage. So this would be renewal health. And then you can do on the date 90 days before their renewal date. Because not all coverage types have the same kind of renewal policies. So you could, let's say you were sending them a text message, minute 1 to the assigned record, and you'd say, hello. Your policy with, and then you'd grab their carrier info. Will renew in 90 days if you'd like a meeting to reevaluate your needs, please let me know. When's good, or grab a time from my calendar. And then pop your calendar link in there and you're set. So that's how you can utilize this for clients as well.
I'm sorry, what's the agent calendar link? That,
It's just another link if you want to use the appointment scheduler, or if you have like your own calendar link through Calendly or something,
right,
you can just put that into a custom agent field. And then that way each agent can pop that in to their calendar information. And then that way their calendar link displays as opposed to another agent's.
That reminds me, that was one of my big fails. I created a calendar page I was working with you on,
Mhm.
that for whatever reason it wasn't working. I was trying to get rid of Calendly.
Mhm.
So I might need your help when we get together to make sure that works
Yeah.
the way it's supposed to. It might have changed because I did it a long time ago. I just,
Mhm.
yeah.
We can look at that
Is there a
next.
reason to get rid of Calendly?
It's just another cost and this is included in your pricing. So, yeah, I mean, it's up to you. I still use Calendly myself because we don't yet have the group availability. So like I couldn't do this webinar via our scheduler, but we are building towards that. So that way you could do like a seminar or a webinar or something like that on our scheduler. But if you're just doing one-to-one meetings, use us because we're free. I mean, not free, but it's included in your pricing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like right
You
now,
can
actually,
have different types of meetings.
Yep, absolutely.
it's pretty cool.
Okay,
I
I'll look
just did
into
something.
that.
I don't know what I did wrong. It was pretty cool. It was easy to set up, but I
Yeah.
just something about how the page shows up or something I have to fix.
Not a problem. We'll fix that. Anybody else have any questions on the automations themselves?
Yeah, the automating text, I've never used that. Do I have to have anything else specially set up besides the client or lead information to use that?
Not really, although we do recommend that, especially if you've got the AMS plan, that you select one of your purchased reported phone numbers to use as the SMS for yourself, just so that it's a consistent number that it's sending out from.
It's
And
not my number.
it
It's
can
not my
be,
cell phone. It can't be my
no,
cell
it,
phone.
it can't be your cell phone, unfortunately.
Okay,
The FCC has regulated that it has to be from the SMS caller ID has to be from the carrier that's sending the message. So if you don't choose one of the purchase reported phone numbers, it's going to be our default phone number for you, which is fine, but it's not ideal.
what do you mean by carrier reported them?
The carrier that sends it. So like our platform is based off of Twilio. And so Twilio is the carrier, as opposed to your cell phone carrier might be Verizon or T-Mobile.
Okay,
So the carrier who's sending out the SMS has
gotcha.
to own that phone number or host that phone number that you're
Okay.
sending from. There's too many regulations. It's
Yeah.
impossible to keep up with. But we've built our dialer and our phone and our SMS to be as compliant as we can make it. So that way it's safer for you. You had asked about voicemail drop, unless anybody else has any questions, because I do have to jump in a couple of minutes here. Does anybody else have any automated workflow questions? Okay. So very briefly, you can, within the phone dialer, you can record or upload MP3s for voicemail drop. And then when you're on that call with a person, you can be calling through your list, and it will pop up an option to leave a voicemail and then hit drop. So when you get their voicemail, you'll just hit drop whatever the pre-recorded voice message is that's queued up. And the nice thing is you can set it so that way it's like I have one for first attempt, second attempt, end of trial, new client check-ins, things like that. So I label them all. So that way, as I'm going through that list, I just line up the one that's relevant and I drop it in. Yes, you do need to have the full VoIP system to do the voicemail drop feature. And just a refresher that what we used to call the VoIP plan is now called the AMS plan. And so that's like where all the new features are going to be pushed to is in that AMS plan. So VoIP, we called it VoIP, and even the basic plan at least has the outbound dialer. But the full VoIP is in on the AMS plan, but we also now have the product matrices and the record type customizations and all these other things that are specifically for agent management. Voice to text or text to voice sounds awful. Don't use it. It's terrible. You can test it out and see that it's a bad idea. Nobody likes that. I mean, maybe somebody does. I do not. Clearly. Yeah. All right. I do need to go because I've got another meeting starting up.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, the AMS phone number does double duty. Yes, it does the double duty for the inbound and outbound phone number. And then also you can set the SMS number as well. So that's the SMS default number right now is this one. But also if you are doing it on a user level, you can also set, like, say Missy Elliott is based out of New York. So I'm going to have her SMS caller ID be the New York number as opposed to the whatever other number. All right. I'm so sorry to have to jump so fast, but we will talk soon. And let me know if you need anything in the help app and I will get back to you as fast as I can. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Danny. Sorry I missed you earlier. That appointment didn't show up on my calendar. It was one of the ones that didn't show back up.
Not a problem at all. All right.
But I'll catch you next week.
Sounds great.
All right, thank you.
Bye.